Here we go.
Hi, this is Eric Stromquist. Welcome to Control Talk Now, your smart buildings videocast and podcast for the week ending December 2nd, 2018. This is episode 293, where we talk about, well, whatever we want to talk about, but it's generally about building automation controls, the control news of the week. And I am joined, as usual, by the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only. You know him as Kenny Smyers, but you better start calling him grandfather, because Kenny has some big news. Congratulations, Granddad.
Thank you. Actually, it's OPA, O-P-A, the German version for grandpa or grandfather or granddad, whatever is OPA. So I'll be called OPA, I'm sure, because my wife is out there still with our daughter. We're very, very pleased to announce our first grandchild, Serena Marie, and Brendan O'Mahony had Noreen Olivia O'Mahony on Sunday. It's 7:58. She was 8 pounds, 12 ounces, 21 inches long. Gorgeous little thing. And it really made me humble again, that circle of life thing and just, how things go on. It's just an incredible experience. And I've forgotten how delicate and perfect little babies are. So, yep, we're real proud of them.
I'm so happy for you. What a great way to bring in Thanksgiving and start the holiday season off, huh?
And it did. It really did. So, yeah, so we get some exciting things to look forward to. But like I say, it's just another plateau, another threshold. When you get older and you pass through different things, and you see your kids get older, get married, move away, and then start to have children, families of their own. It's just an incredible process, and something magical watching the baby go from inside the mom to outside. Just the whole embryonic fluid thing, and how incredible. It's a miracle. And again, it's humbling. And I'd forgotten that. For some reason, I forgot how special that whole thing was. This thing will capture you, and it'll take your heart right out of you.
Well, I'm so happy for you, brother. So happy for you. And well, I hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving. I know we were out in Arizona with my wife's family, Anna. They all meet in Arizona, and had a big time too. And I tell you what, it's kind of like, you're in trouble when your 3-year-old's got a fever and Delta won't let him on the airplane. So you have to go into the emergency room. So our plans kind of got skewed a little bit, and sort of catching up this week, but it's good to be back on the air. It's good to be talking to our community. And Kenny, we got a great guest coming on in a few minutes, but first of all, let's hit the Control Trends Awards, man. Things are happening. We've booked our band. We've picked up a couple of new sponsors this week. One of them being our first consulting engineer sponsor, a company called Newcomb & Boyd, one of the greatest consulting engineer services based here in Atlanta. So thanks to Donnie Walker for that. So they will be on as a consulting engineer sponsorship, and we got the Consulting Engineer of the Year award. Speaking of that, the voting ballots are out. You can find it in the upper right-hand corner of Control Trend, so you can click on that, vote, and send that link out to your community. We're getting tremendous participation this year, and we've pretty much got a sold-out show down at the Fox Theater in Atlanta, Georgia.
Well, it's happening that way, Eric, and we'd like to also thank Phoenix Contact came on as a sponsor too. So that's very, very helpful and thankful. We are very thankful. And as you said, it's coming together, and the way things are working is that we work through the sponsors, and as the sponsors take up the available space remaining, we're seeing that we will have a sold out show.
Yeah,
and it's hopefully that people understand they need to reach out to the sponsors of the show for tickets, because the tickets they're not individually available. So maybe next year in Orlando we'll be able to do it, because it's a much bigger venue and it's a seated venue. Here it's going to be a banquet style. So this is going to be and a lot of the big corporations have bought the sponsorships, the platinum sponsorships that take 20 seats at a time, at a crack. And there's tables of 10 this year, so it's very, very convenient. It's a big ballroom. It's a gorgeous place. It's called the Egyptian Ballroom. Yeah. If you go on the website, Fox Theater. There's 3 Fox Theaters still remaining, are still called Fox Theaters. Back in the 20s when the Depression hit, Fox studios went out and bought all these beautiful venues because they couldn't be kept up by the people because of the economy. So they took over, and of course they had the movie theaters and did all kinds of presentations and dramas and plays and everything you can imagine. But eventually the properties got sold off. There's only 3 remaining. I think Detroit's one of them, but the one in Atlanta is the Cat's Meow. It's one of the most pretty, beautiful buildings. They actually give tours. So we're very excited for the people to make sure they work through the sponsors, make sure that you get a ticket. And there's going to be a great entertainment. As you said, we got the band. These guys, well, we won't talk too much about it because like you said, you got to keep some of the juice in the tank, make people excited, but it's going to be just a really Hollywood style thing, kind of, dress up and have a night for the Control Trends community.
It's like our Grammys or our,
exactly.
Academy Awards
And
type
this
thing.
venue probably is the greatest venue for that capture.
I think it's the most glamorous venue we've ever had.
Exactly.
And it's right in the center of downtown Atlanta, not too far from where the AHR show is. And it's going to be spectacular. So you reach out to your sponsors because we can't do without the sponsor. And Kenny and I have a motto: the more money the sponsors give us, the more money we spend, because we really, really, this is our night to celebrate. So, all right.
Yep, it's it's just going to be a lot of fun too. The way things are set up, that there'll be a lot of networking time, a lot of networking space. Right. Again, we thank EasyIO for being one of the big Platinum Plus sponsors. They're going to have a gig prior to the show that we'll be able to talk more about once the plans are finalized.
Right. And I tell you, kind of on a sadder note, Kenny, we lost one of the greats in the industry this week. Don Cochran Sr. passed away. And
I'm very sorry to hear that. Yeah.
So our condolences and thoughts go out to the Cochran family. And Don was a great guy. He's friends with your dad, friends with my dad. And
sure was. He was a great guy. Really, well, his son Scott's taking the reins, and his brother are doing a great job at Cochran. Don Cochran Jr. and Scott are just, they're carrying the torch, no question about it. In fact, leading the way. But what Mr. Cochran had done was take our two-step distribution into fruition. He actually helped to create the trade line with Honeywell that probably set the precedent, to get distributors set up and actually become fully functioning from the
right.
from the local perspective. Give place to all these manufacturers. You need a distributor. So. Yep.
And our thoughts and prayers go out to our friends at Delta Controls too. One of their founders passed away too. So sorry, I think it was Brian Fairchild, if I'm not mistaken. But thoughts and prayers to them as well. And so with that, Kenny, we move on and let's bring our first guest on.
Well, I'd love to, Eric. It's one of our favorite people in this business, Ken St. Clair, the owner editor of Automated Buildings. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Welcome, Ken.
Thank you very much. You guys are an exciting time here because Automated Buildings, as we talk, is being created and put online. So that's why I've been chased out of the office and I'm operating remote downstairs.
Well, I tell you what, you got quite a view there, and we were just going to tell our audience that you were a multitasker, and actually while you were talking to us, you were typing and putting the episode out. But so, Kenny, I got to do our vocab word of the week. You think we could call Ken St. Clair the Venerable Ken St. Clair?
The Venerable, sure. Or venerated, even, yeah.
Venerated, and we've nicknamed him the Catalyst, and we've come up with all kinds of great names for Ken.
Well, as Scott Cochran rightfully said, Ken has earned his place in the Hall of Fame, and he has the industry knowledge, and he still has the youthful spirit to keep mixing the latest and greatest technology in with the wisest, trust of experience. I mean, when you talk about somebody that spans 40 years in this business and still keeps on top of the most incredibly recent trends and the impact they make, that's a lot of effort and that's a lot of experience. So that's very valuable knowledge that Ken St. Clair bestows on us.
Well, he does, and Ken St. Clair also has overthrown a scientific fact that has for thousands of years been the case, which is you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So, Ken is he's really upset the anthropologists and everybody else because I tell you what, he talked about how it keeps up with everything. It's our man, Ken St. Clair. So.
We won't even stop it. He's going to disappear on us. He's going to start charging us.
Well,
enough.
But what I'm sort of leading into, you got the December issues getting ready to come out, and can give our audience a preview of what they can expect with the December issue.
Yeah, I'm kind of proud. It actually all came together, and I'm as surprised as anybody when that happens, because it's always a lot of pieces on the floor and floating around. We chose the theme of the edge of change, and anybody that's been following my writing for the last little while has seen that I've been definitely over the edge and around the edge, and but it is, I think, just a significant shifting point here, the edge of change, and us all heading off to AHR Expo. We've got our 9 sessions, and they all deal with various pieces of the edge. I've got some great articles, just amazing articles. A lot of young guns firing on us, so it's just great. I'm actually very pleased.
Awesome.
Very, very cool. Well, listen, we're talking about the young guns. We're excited. We'll have a new class of young guns coming in to the Control Trends Awards this year. And we've got young gun Aaron Gorka is starting a podcast. Ken is going to focus on the young guns in our business. It's called Innovation Generation. And so he's already started interviewing a bunch of young guns, and we're excited. We're going to be launching that on Control Trends here in the very near future. But it seems like we really have, the young people really have seemed to come in and are really establishing themselves and teaching us old dogs some new tricks.
Yeah, I'm actually really proud about that, and I'd like to share with you our original young gun, who's almost becoming an old gun. Brad White has just returned from Ottawa, speaking to the House of Commons, and he's been speaking about basically energy efficiency as a solution to global warming and carbon reduction. And he just returned. I just exchanged a email with him just before I came online here. So I'm pretty proud of that he was actually requested his company, and he went representing them. So yeah, that was really good stuff.
That's awesome. Congratulations to Brad.
Yeah, that's very impressive.
Yeah, but now look, he's a young gun. How come we can't get him to come on the podcast? How much is us old guys podcasting? Is that a thing? The young people don't podcast anymore?
I actually have got him to like, he's doing this session at AHR, basically open hardware, open software, open minds, and he's basically has reached out to all of the folks. So we've got Calvin Slater and Zach from Contemporary Controls, and Nicholas. So here's, definitely 4 young guns, and they're putting on their own session at AHR. And I think that's going to be amazing. And just some of the dialogue, I always take everything from a technology point of view, and Brad is a great opposite of that, because he always takes it from a psychological and a people view. And so it's a pretty interesting, because then these technology people started to give their kind of touchy-feelies on how this is coming. So a very interesting interview on our site this month, just coming on within hours here.
Oh, very, very cool. So it's going to get into the touchy-feely stuff again, because, Kenny loves the touchy-feely stuff. That's his thing. So
high tech, high touch.
High tech, that's right. You remember that, don't you, Ken Sinclair from Megatrends back in the day? And a little stable datum, and then I want you to expand on it. John Nesbitt back in the 80s was predicting trends, and he predicted the technology taking over, but he said basically the more technology you got, the more you needed the touchy-feely stuff to sort of balance it out. And I think that's pretty much been the case. And I think we're even seeing more of that now.
Yeah, actually, we're starting out our sessions at AHR. Actually, Scott Cochran and myself and Brad are all starting out the starting session, and it's I've written up a little bit about, just gives people a little bit of insight into it, and we've called that the edge of building emotion at AHR Expo, and it kind of plays on the edge of change, but it also goes through just how this evolved, because we started this back in July. We were asked to put together our program for AHR, which you don't really have all your facts together, so you kind of just grab what's on your desk and and go with it. And what was on my desk is we were talking about building emotion at that time. And yeah, so it's kind of a fun one. So the first session is called The Future of Building Automation, Creating Our New Persona, Building Emotion. And I kind of like this one because it started with my 12-year-old granddaughter. I asked her what this looks like and explained to her that what we're trying to do is depict the relationship between people in the building. And so she drew a great drawing of a pitch of a building and a person and an edge between the two of them. And like, what else do you want? And so that became our picture, which I thought was kind of fun. And we posted that when we were talking about building emotion. And building emotion, of course, the idea was we were using the word, if you remember back, both ways, that we were building emotion and the emotion actually belonged to the building as well. So we're using it both as a noun and a verb. So we played with that a bit. And then the folks from Singapore, they grabbed the same drawing, which is, this is kind of neat in this world today. And they added the words, what if people could have a mindful, interactive relationship with their building? And so they did that. And that was kind of neat. And then that was about the same time that we met this building whisperer from Sweden, and we got involved in that, and we wrote some articles about that. And then we kind of evolved.
Hang on. Well, we're getting some good stuff here, so we're gonna unpack some of this stuff, but keep going. Hold that place. But so I got to know that we got some integrators out there that are going building emotions. I mean, how do you get emotional about a building? And I know you know the answer to that, but let's talk about it, because when you talk about emotions, it's like, do you love the building? Do you get mad at the building? I mean, we probably get mad at the buildings a lot, but let's sort of bring it back, because I think that is going to be a differentiator. But give us some examples of what that might mean, and as a former integrator yourself, how might that work out?
That's almost where it starts. Is in the old days, that's exactly was the thinking. Is it's what do we think about the building? The bottom line is it doesn't matter a crap what we think about the building. What does the people in the buildings think? That's the emotion we're trying to capture. We're trying to capture the community that is in the building and the feeling they have and what it is they want the building to do, and to basically increase their ownership and pride in the building and their emotional connection to the building. And we all have a part of that. Obviously, if the building's discomfortable, they're not going to be happy with it, so they're not going to have a good relationship with it. But it's more than just comfort. It's whether they can see out of their windows or whether the sun shines in their face and all of these things. And we need to be able to extract that. And in the past, we didn't have that option, but now with social media, we do have. So the building emotion I'm talking about is like a virtual fabric that is an actual part of the building. There is an emotion in every building. You go into it, and you've been into buildings. It's been cold.
Well, and also I think too, Ken, when you first came out with it, I was doing research on that, and I came across Frank Lloyd Wright, who believed in building emotion, and he's an institute out there. We put a post on Control Trends about 2 months ago, right after I think it was your October edition. But it said, when you go into a bank, you see the pillars there. You see the expectancy theories met right there. You see a hospital. You see, a lot of windows, a lot of white, a lot of cleanliness concepts. Same with a doctor's office, for instance. But the whole building emotion, I think, I get the virtual fabric. In fact, the thing that I think we're seeing happen is that the building was projecting its emotion, use that word, and the HVAC, the comfort and the warmth and having a very nice environment, the lighting, access to windows, that was the building projecting its emotion to us. We never had to feed back to the building unless you walked over to the thermostat or you were behind a computer and you were able to access the temperature overrides or whatever. So the fact that we're having all this technology come in and it's reducing the friction between the occupant and the building, that actually creates, like a artificial intelligence rapport. You can tell the building, I'm not happy. I want heating. I want cooling. I want more light, or, close the blinds or whatever. And you have the opportunity of using your iPhone or your smart device or your Android, whatever you're into. That, to me, then all of a sudden begins a conversation where you can express this building emotion.
Well, and I think Oh, I'm sorry, Ken. I just want to hop in and say, I think architects forever, I mean, that's part of the hallmark of a great architect is, like Kenny said, Frank Lloyd Wright, is designing a building where you get an emotional response. So it is kind of interesting that now it's filtering down to the systems within the building.
I want to show you something just at this moment in time, because the sun happens to be shining in my windows, which doesn't happen all that much on the West Coast this time of year. But anyway, if you can take a look behind me, you can see the sun shining on the mass wall. I live in a passive solar house, and so that those white blanks on the brick wall are actually happening. So I am actually inside of the solar space, and
Wow.
I enjoy being in the solar space. So I have a large interactive with my building right now, and I think that's part of the emotional thing. So the sun shines through my windows. I'm pretty happy with that. It shines on my mass wall and starts heating it. So I know I'm not going to hardly use any heat today. If at all, house is pretty much self-sufficient on days like this. So that having all of that information going by me, it makes me feel I have an emotional connection to this building.
Sure.
And I think that's what we're trying to do. And we have the way of doing that with virtualization, augmented reality, actually just sharing with the people what it is we're doing. I don't know if you've seen some of this smart glass stuff that's coming out. It's just incredible. It's going to be another parameter. We keep getting new parameters that we have to control. I mean, we're using voice, we're using video, we've got smart glass that we can shift on and off. More and more, our environment is becoming almost like an augmented reality around us, and trying to strike the right relationship with that is what I'm kind of calling the building emotion. So it's a virtual architectural fabric. Let's just look at it that way.
Or a relationship. Relationship. What I was thinking about, we've got several clients and they do the energy dashboards, and you walk into the lobby and you'll have correlations like we saved 1,000 trees today or whatever because of our energy efficiency. And I think that does make people feel good when they know the building they're in is not wasting energy.
Oh, and to that point too, you have the thermostats nowadays give you a green arrow or a red arrow or leaf or some more indication if you're on the green side of your energy usage or your optimization, or you're not. You're out of sync with it. We are over. You have temperatures that are above what's required. What are the normal set points? But there's a chandelier, the PNC Bank building. It's called PNC Tower. In Altura Associates, where the architect engineers of it, and the ones we talk to all the time, Eric. But the chandelier is an indication of where the whole building is in terms of energy efficiency. It turns the colors.
Oh wow!
The colors represent. So while the day's going on, while the sun's shining or it's raining, it collects brown water from rainfall and uses it for the irrigation of all the plants throughout the building and outside the building. It's the interaction is fabulous. You can actually get an iPad, you sign it out at the desk, and it explains all the interesting characteristics of the building. It has it has an outer wall and an inner wall, and there's an air between it, and that is also some kind of an incredible way to maximize the heating and cooling in the building, and so it keeps whatever you want out and whatever you want in, and it's a really cool. It's an air cushion, and but the extraordinary measures now that we have to actually represent that, the fact that everybody walks around with a computer in their pocket really allows you to take a better opportunity. See, if somebody told you the iPhone, what it could do, 10 years ago, you'd say, yeah, right. You'd be able to have a WhatsApp conversation with somebody in Germany, like you were across the room beside you, and it's free, and having the ability to video on your camera or video on your phone. I mean, the extraordinary events that the technology, the technology that has come down to a low price point that we can use now to have all this interfacing. So I think you caught the thread early, Ken, on the building emotion. I think we're going to see more and more focus on that, like you said, with the voice. And I'm curious what else you have in your December edition. Do you have any updates on You got some of those guys that are the leaders of the voice industry. I think it was 2 months ago too. But so I noticed you've added Edge to your name too. So you're now Ken.
Well, hang on, Kenny. Let's let him answer the first question, then we'll get to the Edge thing because you asked a great question.
No, but I just saw he signed his last email to us. Edge Catalyst.
Edge Catalyst, I love it. All right, Edge Catalyst. So, what else we have in the December issue that talks more about this building, emotion building relationship?
Okay, well, that's our first session, so we're going to open up with that, and so I'll just crack it open, and then I'm going to have both the reality people. Brad will talk to sort of probably more the touchy-feely side, and I'm suspecting that Scott will speak to. He's always good as a realist. I love him. I always say all I ever do is talk about all this stuff, but it's always good to have a few of the realists in the room, and so that's going to be a really good session. So I'm looking forward to that for sure. But yeah, we've got a lot of things going on. Just sorry, I dropped my earpiece here. Where to go?
This is another example of the touchy-feely with technology, right, Ken?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, the big thing is we never, in the old days, we didn't know what the heck the people were thinking. But with social media, we know what they're thinking. Oh boy, do we know what they're thinking. And, so the whole thing, I mean, they control the bus line, they control the subways. And if you want to know what's going on, you don't ask the people running the subway, ask the people using the subway. And I think that's actually a secret. So that's actually what's going to happen more and more is the people are going to run the buildings from social media.
Right, and I think the message to our guys is, or our integrators who listen to the show, is that you're going to be the way to give them feedback because it really is giving them the voice into the system. And I think as an integrator, you need to be sensitive to that because I think the building owners, as we've talked about in the past, is getting competitive, getting the millennials to even come into an office. Your space has to be pretty special. Even hiring them the building or the space they're working in can be a differentiator. So what I hear you saying is really that emotion and that relationship is built around feedback. And I think that's the takeaway for our integrators is, be sensitive to that because we have a pathway through our systems to provide those feedback loops.
Great. Okay. Well, one of our other directions that we're going is is basically the collection community connection community collaboration, which we've all been kind of part of for. I think we're going into our 7th year of that, which
Collaboratorium, yes.
Yeah, that's been going on for a while. So basically, I've kind of opened that back up again, and we've got an article changing collaborative connection communities. And what's happening there is these communities are all getting shook up, and they're all having to. What we talked about a long time ago that they need to collaborate is happening, and we're bumping into IT. We have to collaborate with them. They have to collaborate with us. We're getting a lot of interest in our site, and in everybody in the industry that's publishing stuff is their reads are going up because what's happening is the IT industry is now see us as, holy cow, what you guys do is kind of complicated. We thought it was simple, but once we start peeling the skins off those buildings and start looking at those chillers and VAV boxes and all that stuff that we do, so what we need to do is we need to collaborate. We're all, it's kind of funny, it's in the final analysis, all we do is connect things to things. And what we do is we either connect the VAV box to the thermostat, and then now what we're doing is connecting the thermostat to the people and doing that with emotion. So all of a sudden we're crossing over, and now Google's getting involved and Amazon's getting involved, more connection communities. So what we started a long time ago with our connection communities is kind of coming together. This whole issue, the edge of change, I was quite pleased as the bunch of stuff that I've been ranting on forever. I'm always ranting about something, but all my rants are sort of coming together. It's kind of a fun issue that way.
Ken, how much do you think Silicon Valley sort of getting involved in the business space and IP controllers and devices are affecting this whole concept of the motion of the building?
I think they're going to, that's going to be on top. We got a great article from Calvin, and it's called the Anatomy of a Edge Controller. And basically, what he's talking about is that all the components that we're using today are available by anybody, and you can just mix them any way you want. And what's happening with that is the artificial intelligence, Amazon services, and all that are becoming integral parts of that. So it's easy for our industry to mix them. It's easy for the IT industry to mix them. We haven't solved the problem. The problem of our industry always is we don't have the scale to build a gazillion of these things. And so therefore, there'll still be building devices that will basically will sense the temperature, sense the CO2 level, make the blinds go up and down. And the only thing that's going to happen is they're probably going to have voice interfaces. They may have video interfaces as they move ahead. And that's what he's more or less talking about. He's actually started on a series of four articles, and he's basically stepping you through building an edge controller, which is pretty interesting. So he's giving you not necessarily the information to actually do it. He gives you connection to where you would go to do that. He's basically doing it like from an architectural point of view of what the heck is an edge controller. So what it is an edge controller is anything our industry can build. And I think there's some reason why our industry would build them. And what it's going to do too is it'll show when Google and Amazon build theirs, they've got holes you can drive trucks through on theirs as well, because they're not full function either. So I think it's going to be a bit of bumping and grinding, just as it always is in a new technology. And we're also going to see basically connection communities collaborating.
Very cool.
Sure is. And
yeah, I think
we've seen the expression of that is in the control trends. One of the categories was the innovative wireless product or solution of the year. And wouldn't you know it, you have products like the Raspberry Pi Zero W, EZIO's FT04. You got these little tiny controllers that are IP addressable and have incredible programming capabilities in them, and could tie it directly to the web, take information, and the cost is extraordinary. But the other things that you have in the December, who's the best article you got this month? I mean, you always have great articles. You always have contributions, contributing editors, Tree Sullivan and some of the other people. Who's got the one that we want to get to this month?
Well, of course, it would happen to be the MC of Control Trends Award, Mark Peacock.
Nice.
And he comes up, and his article is, I love it. I love the pull quote actually better than the name. He says, in 2019, we will be driven by what I refer to as the 4 Ds: digital transformation, data, dialogue, and disruption.
Wow.
4 Ds. Yeah,
4Ds.
It's a good article kind of thing. So but it also fits well with our the edge of change. So like I say, it's kind of amazing this thing actually all came together, and it looks like it was orchestrated. It was amazing.
Well, they usually are, Ken. You amaze us every month when you come out with your online publication. Is fantastic. It's automatedbuildings.com. If you've been living under a rock forever, you got to check this out. It's good stuff for sure.
We had a 4 Ds of security too. You just jogged my memory, and that was deter, detect, delay, and detain. That was the whole concept of security, was to can't stop crime, send it somewhere else. So that was your deterrence. But that's a great summary there of Mark's article. Who else do we have in the batch this month?
In the batch.
Well, you have. You always have some great contributing editorials, and I'm just trying to get the Control Trends community excited about that. You can spend some a good hour of time reading about the most interesting developments in our industry. Or you got a lot of that stuff on a monthly basis.
Yeah, well, we've got our AHR preview, and we've added that, and we've got some of our advertisers which are there. But in addition to that, we've connected some of these articles to the sessions, which I'm pleased with that, because sometimes you go to these sessions and you say, what the heck's that all about? So what we've done is we've actually got some articles, and basically Brad has an interview about his session. I've got a couple of articles about the connection community session. So that we're basically promoting all of that. I've got a young girl out of California, basically talking about the edge. She's with Climatic, and that's great. What I'm pleased is all of a sudden the faces on automated buildings are younger. Well, Mark Peacock's still there, but other than that, other than Mark's face, everybody else is. Oh, actually, the other one is our BAS columnist, Ira. This is his last column, so he's switching over. And actually, it looks like Phil Zito is going to be taking over for that. So that's interesting news as well. Yeah, so that's good. But if you take a look, there's faces are younger. We've got another great article from our educator of the year, Leo, and there's been some neat stuff going on at the George Brown College in Toronto. They're working, to connect people. They're doing a lot of smart city work. So there's an article there. He speaks to my edge of change. People have picked up my theme quite a bit. We've got some of the people that are talking to the collaboratory. We've got Tori from Enocean talking about his battery-free approved products. What else is on here? There's lots of stuff. We've got Anto speaking about cybersecurity. He also does an interview with Nicholas, so that's kind of interesting as well.
Good stuff. By the way,
Yeah,
Ken, I wanted to remind everybody that if you go onto AHR's website, AHR Expo Atlanta, January 14th through 16th, you can do a planner. And the show planner is an application that you can eventually put on your smart device. But all those education sessions that you're talking about, Ken, they can actually register for them and put their name down into it. Because I imagine this year there's gonna be some crowded sessions, and they will limit the people that can go into this. So for the Control Trends community out there, please use that AHR. It's like an appointment calendar where it tells you every day what goes on, where it happens, the room, the speakers, and then you can sign up for it and reserve your place. So it's heads up to anybody.
Yeah, it's actually there's actually no. Don't get them that idea, because there's no way of reserving spaces. But what there is we can get an indication if they actually put it in their planner. Then it gives us an idea that okay, they're planning on coming. So what we do is we look at the database, and if there's like a tremendous amount of people coming, then we know. But yeah.
Well, there was no chairs. There were standing room only in a couple of sessions.
Yeah.
So you're right.
Yeah, we just got the rooms set up for what they are. Probably at the max we could probably do a couple hundred, but 100 for sure anyway. But I don't know. Can't imagine.
Okay, well, I want to give everybody a heads up that I did do that, and I felt it was like they had my name down somewhere, and that they could verify. But you're right. I don't think there was any.
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah, they can do that. But basically the way they look at it is it's just how many people have put this event on their planner. So if 500 people put it on their planner, that's like, oh, we got a problem because this room's only for 200. So
gotcha.
But the other thing is most people kind of hang back, I think, and they kind of come at the last moment. They don't want to. Nobody wants to commit. So anyway, so we float around. But anyway, that gives us an indicator. If you know you're going to go, that would be really good. Is to put it in your show planner, and then it basically it maintains that. Actually, once the app is, I don't think the app's ready yet, but the app will be online fairly soon. And once you load that up, then the show planner becomes an integral part of your app. So that all works out pretty well.
Well, very cool, Ken. I tell you what, as we round out this interview, and we're talking to Ken Sinclair, automatedbuildings.com. Definitely got to check the December issue out, which should be out in the next day or so, maybe even tomorrow. But Ken, we've been talking a lot about how building automation is changing vis-a-vis the building, vis-a-vis, the relationship with the building of emotion or whatever. I want to sort of ask you a question, because I know, you spent time with lots of times with Johnson Controls. I mean, you know what it's like to be in a building to make a system work. How do you, if you're a systems integrator out there and you sort of want to capitalize on this trend, I mean, what advice would you give to the integrators? Did they hire a different type of person to interact with the building owners and the consulting engineers, or how do you get a leg up, in your opinion, if you're an integrator?
I think we got some great articles speaking to that. Monica's article she is a systems integrator, and so she's speaking to the change that she needs to make. And Nicholas says the building whisperer has been speaking a lot to that as well, and he's having tremendous success in that area. I think probably the systems integrators need to start reaching out more to the touchy-feely people, the philosophers, the philosophical folks that are looking, that could kind of grasp the concept of building emotion and basically build a bridge between their technology and not be afraid. There's no fear of you ever running out of work. Any master systems integrators that I know are just overwhelmed, and it's almost to the point they don't tell people what they're doing, because once they tell people what they're doing, they start getting more and more projects, and they're just having a hard time keeping up. There's just so much stuff going on. The other problem they have is functional creep. And of course, we've got a session at AHR speaking to super master systems integrators, and that's going to be a neat session as well.
What did you say? Did you say functional creep?
Functional creep. Basically, what happens? You go in and you start providing. Actually, that's the great thing, because the master systems integrators provided a function that was not particularly well handled before they came along, and they started pulling the integration of these several systems together. But the several systems grew into several more systems, and the several more systems grew into more systems. Functional creep, basically, we used to, in the control industry, that was kind of a thing we'd go into a project, and if you did a good job, it just kept getting more and more and more, and all of a sudden, you almost got inundated, and eventually they would ask you to do something that you didn't do very well, and then that would start slowing it down. But as long as you kept doing everything well, you just kept getting more and more business, and they actually believed you could walk on water, kind of thing. Because
kind of like the Peter principle in management, right, where you keep promoting people until they find their level of incompetency.
Yeah. Well, but the other problem now is the amount of stuff we have to integrate and the complexity of integrating it. And ironically enough, what they want it all integrated, but they want it integrated simply. It's not just the fact that you can actually make this stuff work. It's then, now that as soon as you get that all done, they're going to say, yeah, it works, but it doesn't reflect the building's emotion. It doesn't reflect the desire of the people in the building. They don't wish to use it. They don't use it. So if you try and write an app and they don't like your app, then it wasn't a success, even though you actually have achieved the original intent of integrating something.
Well, do you think, Ken, we're getting to the point where, and we talked about the supermaster integrators now, and I know there are a lot of people that try to be that, and it almost seems like you're almost going to have your traditional type master systems integrator and your super integrators, and those guys are going to work together. It's almost seems like you might have to choose. I'm going to do one or the other. You think that might be a possibility, or something we'll be seeing as a trend?
I think what might happen is you might, especially on large projects, is you might have someone who is actually integrating master systems integrators. I might have as many as 10 master systems integrators working on a project under one super bit. And not only that, the projects of those sides, there probably are flavors and different emotions for the building pieces. And so therefore, it may be better served by one master systems integrator.
Right. I think to your point, there's so much work. Most master systems integrators that I know, I mean, they're just so busy. And, you know, you got some that, you know, that we all know that just sort of, you know, that they're at that sort of top echelon. And they're not necessarily interested in doing the controls work. They're interested in just doing the top end stuff. So it's going to be interesting how that shakes out. But I tell you what, you kind of freaked me out with that term functional creep. It seems like some girl called me back that in the day when I was young and single. So brought back a flashback there. All right. Well, Ken, anything else before we wrap up, buddy?
Actually, there's a creep thing in this one here that I thought was funny is when we it's not on this one yet. But basically, when we were talking about this, when we were over at the Nordic Building Convention, it was the whole idea of having voice in the room and having Amazon, you know, like, is that sold as a, you know, a creep on the wall kind of thing that is basically listening to you, or is it sold as your friend in the room who is basically helping you? And that's some of the things we're struggling with, is how does this stuff feel? You know, how does it feel to the people? So I think that's you know, a little
Well,
more.
yeah, it is creepy. That is creepy. In regards to the just some of the anomalies that have happened here recently, we got to Google. Hey Google, I don't know if I told you this, Eric, but we were watching television, a show that was using the Hey Google application on the show. So they said this, the voice on the TV commanded our Google to give some information out. It was incredible. But imagine the, you know.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Hey, Google, what's Ken's social security number?
Careful what you say. Yeah.
Right. So if I'm talking to you and I know you have Hey Google and the audio is present, I could say, Hey Google, what's Ken, you know, whatever, you know, but let's try it. What do you have a Hey Google, or do you have an Alexa?
Yeah, it's a Hey Google. So say Hey Google.
Hey Google, turn on the TV. Hey Google, what time is it? Did it work?
You can't hear. He's talking to his headphones, buddy.
Oh yeah, you can't hear.
That's it. Oh yeah.
Hey, take your headphones out. Let's try it. Let's try it. Ken, take your headphones out for a second and put it on audio. Let's just try it. Hey Google, what's the temperature? I saw the lights come on. Hey Google, what time is it?
I don't think we're going to be able to hear it back, Kenny, because you know his system's plugged in. I don't think we're going to be able to do it.
Did you see the lights come on?
Yeah. No, I think it'll work.
It was answering. Yeah, you were doing it. It gave you the temperature and it gave you the time.
Isn't that crazy? Right. So imagine a police officer coming to a job, coming to, you know, first responding or whatever, and he says, you know, they do some kind of Hey Google, and it tells you where the bad guys hide, what room are they in there. I mean, just God only knows what the capabilities there are.
Yeah.
There's no problem. There's no problem. The police officer would just shoot it.
All right. Well, listen, our guest this week has been the venerable Ken Auto Catalyst Edge Sinclair, and you can see Ken at the Control Trends Awards in Atlanta, Georgia, and at AHR. His sessions are always off the chain. We'll be there, so definitely check it out. AutomatedBuildings.com. Ken, thanks so much, my friend.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ken.
So, Kenny, as usual, Ken Sinclair, always ahead of the trends.
Well, you know, I think it's very important. He says a lot of things that are, you know, groundbreaking. And again, the assimilation of the knowledge of 40, 50 years in the industry, really playing it heavy in it. You know, he worked for manufacturer Johnson. He was his own company. He had, you know, was a consultant. He worked, you know, in every capacity, you know, around a building, knows things, you know, just understands them. And then to have the ability to read and write with it, you know, and then take it to the next level at every passing. So he went through pneumatics to DDC, up and now to IoT, and he really stays with it. But he brings that learning with us, presents that learning, that learned counseling, that learned you know, experience in a very, very, you know, fun way. You know, he makes it interesting, and because it's technical, it doesn't really have a real good flavor. It doesn't taste so good because it requires the adoption of change. And when you see somebody like Ken St. Clair say, yeah, I'm ready for this new change. In fact, I'm embracing it. I'm not running from it. I'm going to learn how to do it and put it into play. I think that's, you know, again, it's a great role model. And
right. Well, you know, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. Just that he's putting all this on the website.
Yeah.
So what that means is it's archived, and it means that you can always go there and see it again. You know, the big problem with me is I read, forget, whatever, and right before I want to do something or I want to research something, I'd like to go to these places. That's why everybody has a file system in their computer, no doubt. But to go to a website and have so much access to information, it's a very generous.
Well, you can also track Ken's predictions are pretty much spot on. And, you know, I think, you know, you're a military man, and, you know, especially back in the day, an Army was only as good as its scouts, and the scouts would go way out and try to figure out what was coming so they could come back and give you the information. And, you know, I mean, you couldn't shoot the scout if they told you something you didn't want to hear.
Well, you could. I mean, the Romans did. That's the messenger that brought the bad news, or was that the Greeks? I don't know. But yeah, it's just our industry is changing so rapidly, and there's such an introduction of new technology and innovation that it's helped to get filtered. You know, when somebody actually has drank the coffee and can recommend it, you'd be more inclined to try it than just look at a list of all this technology and say, oh, I want to try this one here, or what's this all about? You just don't have the time to do it. Having somebody that culls all that information and brings it in a very understandable way to get caught up, it's just a great like the cliff notes of the industry.
And if you pay attention to Ken, you'll never be called a systems creep.
Well, that was pretty cool. Functional creep. In fact,
functional creep. You never be called a functional creep. That's right. Yeah.
Well, it was kind of cool because we all have done that. We've all put in a network somewhere, put in a web-based controller and JACE controller, and then we took this, and you had the lights to it. Then you had the sensors. Then you could actually add the gas detection. You could add this. You could just keep on going. As long as you pick a good protocol, BACnet or LAN or whatever your flavor is, Modbus, you kept adding to that existing system, and so that's kind of cool. I had never heard the functional creep explanation before.
Yeah, and I thought they were just talking about me. So all right, well,
dysfunctional.
Dysfunctional. Nice. We had a lot on the website this week, Kenny, and we're not going to go through all the posts. You can go check it out, but give our community one or two that sort of impressed you.
Well, I think the most important things are the upcoming events. AHR, we got a nice post on there. They have a Expo product preview and then all the information, and they've got that app we talked about. I would recommend visiting that. We also had the Haystack Connect. So the fall advertisement deadline has passed, but there's still opportunities to sign up. It's going to be a whale of a presentation. They've got their keynote people there, and they've got additional sponsors. Johnson's Story of Glass Thermostat is a nice video where they show people that made it. It's kind of cool because this is a cool thermostat. It's very successful, and they're going to keep adding features to it to be able to use it as a commercial thermostat as well as a residential thermostat. Cool. We have CyberPower doing a great job, especially when we had the power outage here in Pittsburgh and Western Pennsylvania. We had 110,000 people without power for a couple of days, and life is miserable when you don't have power and you don't have the ability to back things up. So we have a good post on there on choosing a UPS system 101 from CyberPower. Great sponsors that came on board, and they've got some great products you need to check out.
They really do. They really do.
We got another thing too. We have Stromquist Smart Building Controls, Stromquist University. We got a great introduction to smart building controls.
It's part one.
Yeah. So we'll see more of those features come up. Tritium has put on a really interesting. Don't miss the e-learning promotions offered through December 14th. So they've got some discounted e-learning that I don't think you want to miss. And then Loytech. Loytech had a great product line that is European coming to North America, and they're staging it very, very well. This particular post was the LWEB 900 Integrated Building Management System, fully blown, and they got some great controllers. So take a look at that post as well.
Well, very, very cool. Well, I tell you what, Kenny, we're gonna wrap it up. But if you're interested in being a guest on Control Talk Now, the Smart Buildings Videocaster podcast, there's a link right on the right side of the ControlTrends.com website, right below the voting ballot, and we'd love to have you on. It's a pretty painless process. I mean, you get like Ken Sinclair, you like coming on, so it's good stuff. But with that, Kenny Smyers, a very, very special thanks to Ken Sinclair from AutomatedBuildings.com. Be sure to check the December issue out. We appreciate you tuning in. Remember, be bold, stay in control, and stay relevant.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers.
Great.
It's a wrap, buddy. All right.
I know I should have done this. Should have quit this long ago. Can't stand another heartbreak, but it's time.